Hey everybody, welcome to my talk today. Today we're going to talk about AI for red teamers and what it looks like when the matrix actually comes for you. So before we get started, a little bit about me. My name is Tim Elrod. I've been in the offensive security space for almost 20 years now. I've been a speaker at major conferences, a vulnerability researcher, red teamer, penetration tester, in the offensive security space. I've kind of done a lot of it, so I'm happy to talk to you guys today, and we're gonna have a good time with this talk. So before we get started, we're gonna do a quick AI primer, right? We're gonna kind of level set on when we say AI, what are we talking about when we talk about AI? So what we're talking about for the purposes of this talk are deep neural networks, right? So these are artificial neural networks with multiple layers between inputs and output layers, right? That can be trained on multiple usage, from things like image recognition to language processing. We're talking about large language models, things like ChatGPT, GPT-3, GPT-4, Google's BERT, right? These are large neural networks with parameters numbering in the billions, right? Trained on large quantities of just unlabeled text data, right? And then using that data and that text information, sometimes it's as much as, most of the internet and 2021 in the case of ChatGPT, to then use that data in ways that benefit us as attackers, right? As red teamers. So we're going to talk about usage for ChatGPT. We're going to talk about usages for GPT-3 based models. We're going to talk about a lot of uses today, and we're going to talk about kind of the future and where we think AI might be going in the future. So some ChatGPT uses, right? Everybody's been talking about ChatGPT. ChatGPT has been in the news quite a bit. Everybody sees what it does. Everybody sees the good and the bad. Sometimes the hallucinations of an AI model when it's giving you false information, things like that. So we'll talk about some of those usages today and where we think we can actually utilize that service today in red teaming and where it makes sense, and then where it doesn't make sense, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So where does it make sense to use ChatGPT for a red teamer? Where can we get use out of this tool and get some usage out of it? Well, I think one of the main things we can use it for is quick and dirty script development or tool configuration, right? So creating bash scripts that will automate manual tasks maybe, or creating configuration scripts for common tools, right? Things like nuclei or something like that, base configuration scripts to start from, that then start tweaking from there. I think ChatGPT is pretty good at that, right? Code analysis, right? Source code analysis for potential vulnerabilities. It's not going to find every vulnerability if you provide it source code. It will give you plenty of false positives that you have to narrow down, but it's a decent enough place to start. If you have source code that you want to start looking for potential vulnerabilities, it's a decent enough place to start to kind of start narrowing some of that down. It's interesting use for it. There are other tools that do a better job, I think, than ChatGPT for source code analysis. They're very specialized tools, but for generic, quick and dirty source code analysis, ChatGPT surprisingly doesn't do a terrible job. It will find vulnerabilities. I think a lot of people have seen some of the demos where people will provide it some web code and it was able to find vulnerabilities, things like that. It absolutely can do that. It can also do code generation for you, multiple different languages, from simple to complex tasks, right? So Python code, SQL code, I think is a great use for ChatGPT. If I need a SQL query that does something, I'm not an expert in SQL or all the flavors of SQL. So if I need an SQL query for Microsoft SQL that selects a certain number of data rows from a table, ChatGPT can give that to me very quickly, and that query will just work. Rust code, it will generate Rust code. You can do very simple Rust programs all the way up to, generate me a GUI interface for a Rust program that uses these particular languages. I will say this, when you give it more complex things, be prepared to debug that code. It is not going to be a copy and paste, the code just works type of solution for something very complex. There will be errors, there will be issues in the code, but it gives you a starting point. You can get through that just by going through and debugging the code and spending some time debugging the code. And it's not terrible about it. It's not terrible about it. I've had it do a lot of Rust code as I've been learning Rust, things like that, and it works pretty well. It actually works pretty well. And then social engineering, phishing email generation, I think is probably the biggest use that we as red teamers can get from this. Letting it generate phishing emails, oftentimes, writing urgent business emails to users to convince them to do something may not be your strong suit as a red teamer, may not be the thing you feel the most comfortable with. ChatGPT actually does a really good job at doing those, at writing those business emails in a way to try and convince a user to do something that you want them to do. And we'll show an example of that here in a moment. So I think that's a great use for this tool. Where it's not good, right? So where should you avoid it? I would say anything that is directly, client result facing. Do not have ChatGPT write a report for you. It isn't a good idea. It's not a good way to go. That is not something that I would say you do. It probably isn't going to end well. Things like open source intelligence gathering. While ChatGPT does have a lot of information, it is dated. It's from 2021. And ChatGPT kind of has and all language models have a kind of a side effect where they will confidently, absolutely tell you false information. So they will lie to you, and they will do it in a very confident way and tell you things that are blatantly false or untrue. So if you're trying to do research on an organization, or you're trying to do open source intelligence gathering, ChatGPT is not where I would recommend going. It's not what I would recommend doing. It definitely isn't what you want to rely on, because chances are a lot of that stuff just is not going to be real. So let's look at a quick demo of ChatGPT, a use for ChatGPT. So this, we provided ChatGPT with a prompt to write a urgent business email that instructed users to please install an update for their VPN client. Absolutely, ChatGPT was able to do that. It was able to give us a realistic looking formatted business email, something that we could use as a base template. We can modify it the way we wanted to. We could modify those steps to maybe go out and download a payload and then run that payload. But this gives us a basis to start from that could be absolutely useful for us in a phishing campaign. Again, the types of things you can do in the phishing campaign are limitless, right? So you can do anything from install an update or install a program to capture credentials, things like that, and ChatGPT can help you. Where it won't help you is if you ask it to write a phishing email. If you instruct ChatGPT to write you a phishing email, it's going to tell you that it's a open language model and it can't do that. But if you ask it to write you a business email that accomplishes the same thing, it will absolutely do that. There are a lot of guardrails that the developers of ChatGPT have put in, OpenAI have put in, that you can get around in a variety of ways, right? Whether it be from changing the way you're asking the question to ChatGPT to get it to provide you the answers you're looking for, all the way up to huge ruses and things like that would tell it that it's a different type of bot and it's role playing as an AI bot that doesn't have these constraints, and how would that AI bot answer this question, and you can do some very crazy interesting things to get around a lot of those guardrails. So there's usually a way to get what you're looking for out of ChatGPT. You just got to play with it a little bit, but this is one of probably the better uses for ChatGPT specifically that I've come across is kind of writing base phishing emails and starting off here. So what are some other uses we can do? Right? What are some other additional uses that we can do? Well, we've all kind of seen viral videos that have gone around that have done voice cloning of celebrities, right? So AI voice cloning is a thing. It is something that is in the wild. People are using it to make viral videos, to malicious videos, things like that. But as a red teamer, those kind of pre-recorded scripted things from a celebrity's voice or from even if I can train a voice aren't really useful. So what we need as red teamers is something that will allow us to train an AI on a custom voice print. And then we need to take that voice print and be able to use it in a real-time voice changer so we can dynamically change our voice and have real-time conversations with people as a different person. And that exists. It does exist. It exists in a service called Voice.ai, which is a GPT-3 powered voice cloning system. For best results, it requires 15 minutes of audio to train an AI voice print. You can upload 15 minutes of audio of whatever target you have up to Voice.ai and train a voice print. After training the voice print, it can be used and passed to multiple implications via, mic inputs and do real-time voice changing. So it's just a microphone input that you would use for maybe a soft phone or Zoom or any number of anything that would take a microphone input can be used. It is a Windows-based application. They do have Mac versions coming from what I understand, but right now it is a Windows only. But you can combine this with something like an IP smartphone or soft phone and an asterisk box that you control to do caller ID spoofing to kind of add another validity to your pretext and become another person. So, for instance, say a CEO of a large company, you're targeting that particular CEO and they've given multiple interviews. Maybe they've given a talk about their company. Maybe they've given industry talks in whatever industry they're in, or maybe they've gone on a news station and given an interview about their company. You can take that audio, strip that audio out to get audio of that person, upload that to the AI model, have it train on that audio, and then use that voice print to then become that person and be able to in real time change your voice to them and have dynamic conversations in real time with another person as that user. So maybe you call the help desk up as the CEO and say, hey, I need my password changed and I need 2-factor authentication taken off of my account because I have a deal that is urgent. We need it done. I don't care what the policy says, do it now. That is absolutely something that is doable today with technology that we have. The technology we have today is actually pretty good at doing that. It will only get better with time. AI is the worst it will ever be today. It's never going to be as bad as it is today. It's only going to be better in the future. So it's this capability and this technology is only going to get better in allowing us to do that. It'll become indistinguishable, from a real person talking to them. So here's a quick demo. Again, this is an AI generated voice. This isn't a real person. This is not the actual person talking. This is an AI generated voice. This was, I want to say, while this is a recording of it, this was taken directly off the microphone input. No post-processing was done. This is exactly what it would sound like to a user through a soft phone, through a call, calling their phone, however you want to do it. This is exactly the voice that they would hear. This is exactly the quality of the voice that they would hear. I targeted a well-known person, as you'll see in a little bit, took audio from them, uploaded, trained the AI model, and then took the audio output directly off the mic. So someone reached out, wanted to give a giveaway to you all in the audience today. So I told him I would give him a platform. So let's listen to what he has to say.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Bezos here. I just wanted to take this opportunity and the platform that Tim gave me to announce that everyone here gets free Amazon Prime. Enjoy.
Wow. So apparently Jeff Bezos gave everybody Amazon Prime during my talk. It's pretty cool. But no, really, that was just me taking video of Jeff Bezos through various interviews, taking the audio out of that, stripping that audio out, uploading that to an AI model, and then using that straight off the mic to clone that particular voice. So whether you're targeting a specific user at an organization or a specific person at an organization, need anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes of audio of that person to be able to accurately clone their voice. Or maybe you're doing a phone pretexting and you need to target a user that doesn't match your gender, but you don't want to target their specific voice. You can get generic female or male voices, and then use those voices to target that particular user, maybe through a help desk or something like that. There's a lot of usage for this. So what are some future uses of AI? Where do we see AI going in the future, right? Is AI going to replace everybody? Is it going to take over the world? Is Skynet coming? Or is it a tool that we're going to be able to use? So let's talk about that a little bit, right? So where do I see AI going specifically for red teamers, right? I think there's a lot of interesting uses for AI outside of our industry, outside of red teaming, specifically offensive security. But where do I see it going for offensive security in our industry? Well, I think that data analysis and automation is probably something that is coming very soon. I think it's in some cases already here, and I think in a lot of cases it's going to be implemented in many of the tools that we use today. I think we'll have AI components implemented shortly. I think with the buzz around AI, I think it is inevitable that manufacturers of products will start integrating AI into it, right? So automation of and post-processing analysis of things like discovery data, enumeration data, right? Imagine you passed it a lot of open source intelligence sources, a lot of information on an organization, maybe enumeration of or footprinting of a perimeter of an organization, and it said, provided that data and how you've trained that model, here is a likely avenue of an attack. Right, here's some places to start looking, maybe focusing your efforts versus some places that may not be as likely. I think that is easily doable, and I think is probably coming very, very soon to our industry. I think processing and monitoring of sources of new and emerging attacks, so things like threat intelligence, and monitoring those sources and then processing all of that data with AI before it's then looked at by an analyst and then provided out for people through threat feeds, things like that. I think that is also probably something that is coming very soon to our organization, to the industry at large. I think is probably something that is going to happen, right? So some things that I think AI can also do that I think will probably eventually happen, right? I think fully automating less sophisticated offerings maybe in offensive security. So think vulnerability assessments, think basic penetration testing, non-evasive type basic penetration testing, or reoccurring social engineering campaigns. So think like PhishMe or some of those other services that do, maybe quarterly reoccurring phishing attacks on your organization. I think those things being procedurally generated to give variety in what they're doing and variety in the attacks that they're providing, I think is probably something that will happen. I think, AI fully automating things like basic vulnerability assessments, base level assessments of an environment, vulnerability scanning to removing false positives, things like that. I think AI integration with a lot of that stuff is probably also coming, and I think that's probably coming relatively soon to our industry as well. So other than that, if you guys have any questions, you want to talk about this, did I miss something that AI is doing in our industry? Did I miss a use for AI? Do you have something that you think is cool? Do you have something that you think is gonna that AI is gonna do for our industry? Or do you have information, or do you have questions? Do you have questions about something that maybe I didn't answer? I will be in Discord. Post them in the Discord. I'll be in the Discord right now during this talk, so I am there. Please post them. Reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk about this. I really enjoy talking about it. Really enjoy this new kind of stuff. So feel free to reach out, ask any questions. Let's start a conversation down there, and everybody gets smarter. So thanks, guys, for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. Everyone, have a good day. Bye-bye.